This is my duty, my job. This is what they gave me to do.
Okay,
Isn't
that's
that
good.
nice? You got it made.
Got it made. Got it made.
Just get to sit around and bullshit all day.
Bullshit all day. I can do that. You know what Groucho?
Yeah.
You know what Groucho Marx said when he was talking to Margaret Dumont? You know, he always talked to, and he was sitting there and he was talking, and then he looks at her and said, "You must have been vaccinated with a phonograph needle."
Yeah.
She hadn't said a word.
She hadn't said a
Look at
word.
that card. I just gave me that card. I thought I got it. Just grabbed it.
Mm-mm-mm.
So I can remember what to ask.
Good.
Keep going anyway.
Yeah, we'll
I
keep
kinda
you,
got it.
we'll keep you
Oh,
going.
Keep me going. Yeah, yeah.
How did I get green stuff?
Nah, it's probably black. Black ink.
I don't know.
Black ink. from
I've turned
somewhere.
green.
Yeah.
I've been married to green almost 10 years. Now I'm turning green.
Turning green, turning green. But you all were in the same class. So
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we went a long way.
You see, I graduated a year behind Donnie.
Donnie?
Right.
Yeah, I was in 75.
Yeah.
And then Greg was what, 76?
Yeah.
Joey and all of them are.
Kathy was 78.
Yeah. See, I
And,
know.
and David was 89.
Okay. See, and I just saw Kathy when I was going up Short Ridge.
Oh, did you?
I turned and she was getting the mail, and I,
Oh.
you know, I know Billy
Yeah.
in my class higher. So
Yeah.
It all goes around. Comes
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't know who you're dealing
Right,
with. May
okay.
be related to him.
He saw it.
Second
He
place?
was up hanging on our window.
Who got first? I didn't see anything that was better.
He said we should have got first.
I
We should
think
have
so.
got it.
I
We
think
should have
so.
got it. I don't know.
I didn't see the
I
one
don't
that got
know.
first, but
I don't know who
it
got
was a good
first.
one. All righty.
All right.
Ready to roll?
Yeah, we're rolling.
Rock and
We're
roll.
rolling just a bit.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Well, the first thing maybe is if you would both state your maiden and your
Okay.
maiden name and
My maiden name was Marlene Conaway.
okay.
Like the Conaway Party Barn was mom and dad.
Yes.
And
Okay.
yeah. And what else do you want to know? And then my next name was, I was married to Don Livingston and had Livingston children, 5 of them.
Okay.
And now I'm married to Mr. Green, and we will be married 10 years in May.
All right. And you are?
I'm Bob Green,
Classmate,
classmate, class of 52.
came up through.
We worked here, various manufacturing positions. Started with Shenley, spent 15 years with them in packaging development,
Okay.
and
Let's go back a little bit. I want to
Okay.
get to that point.
Sure.
When you grew up, what you grew up out in the country?
Yeah.
Okay. And
Dad took us out in the country so we'd stay away from these towny kids.
Yep. We were problems.
Yeah.
We grew up right up there. Yeah, we were a
Right.
problem. But so did you do a lot of have to work a lot?
Yes, I
when
did.
you were young.
Yeah, I think I started washing dishes when I was 5, and that was my job the rest of my life. And then I learned to cook by the time I was 7 or 8 for 8 people, and
Okay.
that was part of my job.
Okay. May you still got a little bit of running in the country though, didn't you? Out there,
Yeah,
Little
well-
swimming and things like that. when you
No,
were young?
because we didn't have anywhere to go swimming.
Okay.
We got to go to camps 3 days every summer with
Okay.
4-H camp.
Okay.
It was fun.
Yeah. That was good.
And he was a townie. He did everything.
Okay. So
He
you
started
grew up.
working though when he was 10.
So you were in Aurora. Grew up in Aurora here.
I grew up in Aurora, born on Decatur Street, moved to 4th Street across from the Catholic Church.
Okay.
Lived there until I was a senior in high school, and then I moved out on Conwell Street.
Okay.
During that time, well, the reason I was in town, Dad was a jeweler, watchmaker, had his store on 2nd Street.
2nd Street.
From 1920 to 1944 when he died.
Okay.
So I grew up on the streets of Aurora, and 4th Street had a gang of kids, and we were the 4th Street gang, and we did everything together.
Mm-hmm.
So it was just a big neighborhood. Our playground was Southside Schoolyard,
Mm-hmm.
St. Mary's Schoolyard,
Mm-hmm.
we used the road from Hill Forest down to Judiciary Street, turned down to 4th Street, and then turned down to the river. That was our bike racetrack, our boxcar,
Right.
soapbox derby.
Did you like
raceway.
the hillside too? Did you run up behind Hill Forest and around that? way?
Oh, yes.
No?
I played in Hill Forest, back lot. Southside School, I learned to ski,
Mm-hmm.
and that area was close to me because of all the kids that were in the neighborhood, mostly all towny kids.
Who did you have in when you went to Southside? Some
Who
of your
did I
teachers.
have?
Yeah, some of your teachers.
Oh God, Hopping, Mrs. Hopping, first 3 grades. Miss Baker.
Jeanette Baker?
Oh, Jeanette Baker. She was my 4th and 5th.
You know who that was to me? That was my great aunt.
Your great aunt. Well, your great aunt was a terrific disciplinarian.
I've
She
heard
had
that.
whacked me on the back with her yardstick every time I got out of line.
I'm sure he needed it.
Ah,
I'm sure he needed
I'd
it.
heard that.
Oh yeah, she was tough, tough. But yeah, my 4th Street experience. My dad passed away when I was 10.
Okay.
Charlie Fryer on the Aurora ferry boat took pity on me and allowed me to get my first job.
On the ferry boat?
Scraping the grease out of the bottom of the old wooden hull Edabelle
Uh-huh.
and taking change for the walk-ons from Petersburg.
Uh-huh.
And through about 6 months, I grew up with all of those people telling me wild stories while we sit around the fire in the old cabin
Golly, wow.
and enjoyed each other's company.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure.
First time I had chewing tobacco.
Yeah. Did
Somebody
Fritz
gave me.
work down there then? Fritz?
No, it was Charlie Fryer and
Right. Okay. I remember that.
Walker and Skinny Thompson.
Okay.
That
You
gang.
had your chewing tobacco then, huh?
Oh yeah, they said, here, have some of this, and the rest of the day I was green and sick, and that was my first and last experience for that.
Yeah, yeah.
But the ferry boat for a couple years was my life.
Mm-hmm.
Dad always had a boat. They had a houseboat that went down to Whooper Creek on the Kentucky. Well, it was down Split Lock area, but it was down where the boat guidance signal was. We had a camp down there, and him and 5 of his business buddies spent every weekend and every Wednesday, which was their day off in the business community.
Mm-hmm.
So my life on the river was tracing trot lines and playing in the mud on the Kentucky side,
Mm-hmm.
and swimming in the river. I know we'd be out tracing trot lines in a John boat. We had trot lines went clear across the river.
Mm-hmm.
We'd be out there at midnight tracing trot lines, pulling those channel cat out.
You told me your mother used to scrape your arm to see if you'd been swimming in there.
Yeah, that was. Yeah, I got the only time I got a whipping was when she bought me a new pair of Buster Brown shoes from Neff's.
Uh-huh.
And I went down on the riverbank to break them in, and I come home and they were all muddy and cruddy, and she gave me a good whipping for that one.
That's good.
So there's a lot of
So
stories.
you had a great experience growing up in Aurora.
Yeah, you could do no wrong in Aurora. Our gang from 5th Street, 4th Street, and 3rd Street, if you did something wrong, somebody'd know about it and tell on you before you got home.
I was in the same locale because I
Yeah.
grew up in the log cabin.
All
up
right.
There, so
Oh,
you
did
know.
you?
So,
Oh yeah, I remember your dad too. He wrote for the paper for this.
yes, he did, Ray. So yeah, if I got in trouble, I'd get in trouble there. You
Oh,
know,
yeah.
pretty much. So yeah, everybody
Yeah.
knew what was going on. You were safe running those.
Oh,
those areas.
safe running anywhere, 'cause
Yeah.
Dad was here about before I got home.
Yeah.
Then I was working at Lackerman's for Grandpa on Saturdays.
Okay.
Grandpa Lackerman,
Okay.
and I think I got $1 a day,
Mhm.
and that was stocking the shelves.
Right. How old were you then?
Probably 10. Jackie was only probably 7 or 8.
Right.
My cousin Jackie,
Yeah.
and then she's always wondered how come they pumped kerosene in the basement. You had a barrel and it had a pump on the side,
Uh-huh.
and they always sent us down there to do it because nobody else wanted that stinking
Yeah,
stuff.
that I know.
Yeah.
The kerosene does
Yeah.
smell.
I remember that. I really loved my Grandpa Lackman. He was a character, and Uncle Bud too. He was really.
But yeah.
Yep.
I knew who they were, but
Yeah.
I was young.
Yeah.
when they were-
Very good.
Yeah, but so I know you had great experience doing that, and you worked most of the time. But what did you all do out there? Like I know Sunday for me, even when I grew up in the '60s, the Sunday meal was it. You know, Mom
Yeah.
and I'd go to church when I was
Oh,
real
yeah.
little. You know, and she'd take me up there to the Baptist church. But the Sunday meal that you sat down for most meals, almost all
Right.
suppers. But tell me about that. Was that always a big deal? I mean, you were cooking anyway most
I
of
was
the time.
cooking anyway most of the
Yeah.
time. Mom didn't like to finish anything. She was something there, but she just didn't connect on everything just right. She's a very good mom, very lovable. Loved my mother,
Mhm.
and she's better playing cards and reading magazines than what she was at
Well,
cleaning.
my mother wasn't a cook. Dad always cooked on
I
Sunday.
mean, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I learned to do that very, very young, and
But you were taught by your grandmother, you told me.
well, I went to see Grandma Conaway.
Yeah.
And they'd take me down there a couple weeks at a time because Dad wanted me to learn how to cook so we'd have better food at home.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she'd just reach in and get her hands full of this.
Now your
flop-
grandma, that was the party barn.
No,
Or
that was
different.
my mom and dad had the party barn.
Oh, okay.
Grandpa Bert had the still in his basement.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's all right. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's all part
Yeah,
of it.
that was part of it. But the strange things about Bob and I, we both have really done the same thing in the sense that he worked at Cheney's, I was working at Lackerman's.
Yeah.
We didn't know each other
Yeah.
because even in high school,
Say where Teeny's was, because I went there too when I was
Teeny's
young.
on 3rd Street?
Mhm.
Yeah.
That was kind of
when I was 16, I was a delivery driver for Conwell Street.
Yeah.
I had the old Mack 3/4 ton truck.
Yeah.
They taught me to drive that, and I'd load up with groceries. They'd call in their orders. I'd deliver all day long in that old truck.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That was fun.
I grew up with Chuck. So.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, and the boys. So yeah, that was a really. We always went to that store, Tandy's. And of course, Tandy's was smaller then because
Yeah.
it was on the corner
Yeah.
down here. So it wasn't as big as Teeny's was really your
Yeah.
store where a lot of people went.
Well, I also, Bobby Liskey and Bobby and my brother were great boat builders.
Mhm.
And they would have Liskey's garage upstairs to themselves, so they would build these kayaks. And during the flood, they had 3 or 4 of them would get their kayaks and run up and down the streets in the water with their kayaks. But
Yeah.
Bobby got me involved in what was going on in the garage,
Yeah.
and when I got my driver's license, he let me take the driving test in his Jeep. I passed the driving test, so they started running me back and forth between the garage in Cincinnati to pick up parts for him.
Yeah.
So I did that for a year.
Right up 50, wasn't it?
Yeah.
275.
easier than driving to Lawrenceburg.
Oh,
Yeah, there wasn't anybody around.
Yeah. Right. Right.
But that was fun too.
Yeah.
Good
So-
experience.
So you all were basically did the same type of things or
Mhm.
worked
Oh,
the
yeah.
same and worked when you were young. Back
Yeah.
then,
Yeah,
you
oh,
got
yeah,
up
we
and
all.
needed to work and
Then I worked at Nathan's too, and then they had a clothing store down here on the corner.
Mhm.
I worked there, and you worked other places. We both worked.
Oh yeah, I worked
We always
ever
had
since
nice
I
jobs.
10 years old. I said
Yeah, we
I
both
got a
did.
new bicycle for Christmas, and I was running a paper route the next day.
Yeah. There
We
you go.
we ran paper routes too, so we like
it
Now,
was
where did you finally get to school together? Because you didn't go. Where did you go? When
I
you
went
grew
to
up?
St. Mary's,
St.
and I
Mary's,
went to
okay.
the South Side.
In South Side. So you
We-
were in the same area. but-
Yeah,
yeah, we went to high school together. but
high school,
I
4
wasn't in
years.
his class.
Yeah. So what did you do? What did you do in high school that was notable?
my.
Maybe I don't know. Any kind of events or anything you did that I know you did.
We didn't do it together because I didn't
Yeah.
like him.
That's all right. That's all right. Well, tell me
I
what you
did,
did.
huh? Well, he was so cocky. He was a jock.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then they had to go to Lawrenceburg to see the girls because they were easy there, and we were more dignified.
So,
Right.
what did you do at school? What kind of
I took-
organizations or whatever you were in?
About all of them, GAA, and we were both in choir,
Yeah.
and both. He was in the band. I wasn't in the band,
Uh-huh.
and
What did you play in band?
I didn't. No,
Oh,
he was
you-
in
you-
band.
okay, you were in
I wasn't in band, but we didn't really have classes together that much because he took.
Commercial. I was
Commercial.
in commercial, and you were in academic.
And I was in the academic.
Okay.
Pre-college.
But choir was good. I know. I
Oh,
enjoyed
choir was wonderful.
Yeah. Who'd you have as a director back then?
Bill Platt.
Bill Platt.
We did have one year where we had,
Yeah,
Humphrey or
that's
something?
Humphrey. Yeah, he
Right.
wasn't.
but
He
Bill
was straight
Platt
out
was-
of
Bill
IU.
So
Platt
you
was
sang in
great.
choir also?
Oh, yeah.
You've been in band?
We
Yeah.
still were in the Rivertown Singers.
Yeah.
Year
we,
before
we
last,
carried
we
on
decided-
afterwards.
Did you?
Yeah.
Well, I always loved choir. I was in the Hedges
Yeah.
100. You know,
Yeah.
but I
Oh,
mean,
yeah.
Now they don't seem to. The guys, the
Yeah.
women still sing or girls,
Mhm.
but the
Right.
guys aren't as big into it. But that was a big thing.
No.
Well,
What else were you into? You were into all the academic things.
Sunshine,
Oh,
and
yeah.
I was in the dramatics, and you were stage boy or something.
Yeah, I worked in stage
On stage
background.
and
Mhm.
but he was so cocky. I
So you played ball. You didn't do really athletics.
No,
or
I
anything?
didn't have any background. We didn't even have a basketball on the farm.
Right.
That was a farm then. I set tobacco and all
Mhm.
that stuff. No,
Right.
he never did that.
So you did the athletics. and-
Oh, the athletics started St. Mary's when I was
Father Horser.
Father Heuser started a football team for Catholic boys,
Uh-huh.
and they didn't have enough boys. So all the kids that were running around 4th Street became Father Heuser's new football team. And we played games with the other Catholic schools all over the
Did you?
county.
Yeah.
And that was my initiation to the football program.
Did they have all right equipment?
No. I was wearing my dad's uniform and pads, and they were the old leather helmet,
Uh-huh.
leather pads, canvas pants. That's
Well, you
why
better
I,
hope you didn't get hit too hard.
That's,
No,
that's
it
why
didn't.
he's going to have a
Yeah.
knee replacement. Probably.
But there was a good group of kids that got to go into that program, and after that, I guess I started in high school, and I was in football, basketball, and track.
Uh-huh.
My brother was in the class of 45, and he was in the same athletics as I was, and he gave me my basic training on how to stay alive in those games and do something that was worthwhile.
Uh-huh.
So he was my incentive to do better.
Of course. What was your favorite out of those, probably?
Oh
Did you
gosh,
Enjoyed 'em
I
all?
enjoyed them all and was outstanding in all of them. I played 4 years of football, 3 years of, or 4 years of second team, and 2 years at varsity. Track, I was a 4-year track man.
How are you?
Okay.
And just enjoyed the whole
Had to come
thing.
To the AC. How are you, Bob?
Well, I'm doing good. Anyway,
That's okay.
my athletic career led me to all sorts of opportunities after high school. I went to Valparaiso College and on an athletic scholarship for football. Spent a year there. Got hit in a football game and bunged up my right knee.
Yeah.
And that ended my career in football for a year.
Right.
Transferred to Indiana and just went there a year. Did go to their program for non-competing athletics and got into a track meet at the final year and won in the long jump. So that was my ability there. Left IU and came home and spent, from 55 to 56, I worked at Fernald and stayed out of school at that time. 56, went to the Army, went to Korea, and was paying the troops as a payroll clerk. Did that for 4 months, and they were calling for a division track team. Joined the track team, went temporary duty for 4 months. I was in pole vaulting and long jumping at that time. I won the Korean championship in pole vaulting.
Yeah.
Got to go after I won in the Seoul, Korea meet. I got to go to Japan and competed in the pole vault at the Yokohama Olympic Stadium.
Yeah.
If I had won there, I would have got to come back to Fort Worth, Texas at the All-Army meet and would not have gone back to Korea, and I'd only been there 6 months.
Really had it rough.
Yeah.
Really rough.
But I
Yeah.
came in second place, and I had to go back to Korea after that. So the summer, that summer they called out for a football team, for the division football team. Well, I went out for the division football team and won there. And got into that, and we traveled all over Korea and Japan
Really
as
rough.
the division football team.
I'd laugh about it because it was not. He
Well-
had it made.
Well,
Yeah. You did.
I was temporary duty, had my orders in my duffel bag for a year. And all I had to do was do what the coaches said, and that was enough. But after I finished the football, we have recreation compounds in Korea where the troops from all the different divisions would come into, and they would have the PX and the movie and all the football field, the baseball field, and all that. So you had all of that available to you, and I managed the gym for a time, and in my spare time I was also the projectionist for the movie theater. So I had 2 things going on at that time.
So here's a question for you.
Okay.
So you had a rich life afterwards in between even getting back
gosh,
here.
yeah.
So that helped you all the
Oh,
high
yeah.
school and
Oh, my
growing
God,
up in
yes.
this area and all the what do I want to say, the morals that you gained from
Yeah,
being in the Catholic school
discipline,
and
the discipline of
Right.
what was right and wrong. You had incentive to stay on the track. I was an athlete my whole life.
Yeah, yeah. Plus, you learn from the guys, the old guys, what
Oh,
it was
gosh,
about.
yeah.
You know.
Yeah, but
out
I
on the
tell you
river.
about his sister. Tell him about Stan, 12 years older than him. And she was down on Ulrich's Corner a lot with her gang. And he was just a little bitty kid,
Mhm.
probably 5 or 6 years old, because Dad was right there in the jewelry shop. Well, she said it was so embarrassing because this dirty little kid would come up to get a nickel, and they'd say, "Who was that?" And he was so dirty from being on the riverbank.
Oh, yeah,
yeah, that she didn't want to claim him. I don't think
Oh,
she said he
well,
was
I
just a
think that's-
dirty little kid.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
little street urchin.
Yeah. But you know, it's growing up. So I guess one of the questions is, you had a good, lively, growing up.
A rich background.
Exactly, a rich background around a lot of good people. Even though you
Good
had
people.
your father passed away young, you still had people that
Yeah.
and you could
My
they
brother
got a
kept
hold
me.
of you.
My brother kept me on track.
Yeah, that's
He was
right.
8 years older than me.
Yeah, exactly. And you had the country
Oh yeah, I had
makeup, so
yeah.
that was a good thing.
Yeah, and we at home out there in the country, or we did things like it was the old Gage Hall.
Gage
What?
Hall.
The hall down there
Oh.
where they had the Farm Bureau meetings and stuff.
Oh, okay.
Oh, we put on skits. Our group and my brother's friends
Uh-huh.
and all this, we put on different skits. We went to State Fair even with a Frankie and Johnny skit.
Oh, did it?
Yeah, and it
Oh.
was like we did that several places. We performed, I don't think, in the Moose Hall, and then up at Hill Forest once. I
That's
can
when
remember.
plays were so
Yeah,
good. I
yeah.
remember I haven't found anybody that remembers, but when I was young, they had a showboat that stopped down there by Lesko Park.
Yeah.
And they had it, and you went down there, and when I was young, they gave you candy and stuff, a bag, and they had plays
Yep.
that they put on. And I remember going to a couple of those. That was a big deal.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a big night. Boy, to
Yeah.
get down there.
Well, he went to Coney Island. He went on the Island
on the
Queen.
Island
Oh,
Queen
the
out
Island
there.
Queen. My sister and I, we got to go on the summer trips from Aurora to Coney Island.
Yeah. I remember that, and had Moonlight Gardens up there. if
Moonlight
you were old enough
Gardens
to
was
go.
my place.
Well, he wasn't that
dancing.
big. He learned to dance.
Yeah, my sister taught me to dance, and from then on, Moonlight Garden was my place.
Yeah, yeah.
Time he's probably 8 or 9 years old even. You were
Oh,
born.
I don't know how old I was, but I remember Moonlight Gardens as much as I do Coney Island.
Yeah.
With 3 older brothers, so I felt like I couldn't do anything because no matter who, it wasn't good enough for them. That's what
I followed a brother and a sister. I
Yeah,
know what you mean.
yeah, and you had to do.
They always
what
wanted
they
me to
say.
be like them.
Yeah.
Or the
Yeah.
teachers or
They
whatever.
would-
Oh,
they'd
yeah.
they'd
I
tell
wasn't
your
quite
mom
the
or
same.
dad.
Yeah.
Yeah, they would.
Yeah.
They'd rat on you.
Yeah.
So the high school experience, I guess, that's what kind of brought us all down here. So it must have been.
It set the tone for your life, whether you wanted to believe it or not.
There you go. Yeah, you didn't at the
Mm-hmm.
time.
You didn't
You
know
were
it
just
at the
drifting
time.
through it and wishing you could go back after you got out sometimes.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Those were that's at one of the reunions and said, well, what do you remember? I remember the glory days.
Yes, yes. Well, that's what I do too. I mean, we always had pretty good, clean fun, and
Yep.
we never hurt anybody. That's the way I look at it.
That's right.
Never hurt ourselves. Most of us got through it all right,
Yeah.
even with all the cars and bicycles.
Yeah, yeah.
I remember Southside School up here. So you remember the fire drills, but when it was empty, we used to climb up the fire escape there and slide down. when we were
Uh-huh.
little. And
Yeah.
I remember wrecking my bike up there.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Did you see any of my prints or anything of the painting I just did of that last year?
No, no.
Oh, you got to see that.
At the old Southside High School.
I did it for him, and then
Mm-hmm.
the Lawrenceburg Library bought it, and
Yeah.
I
Didn't
wasn't
get
afraid to
showed to
sell it.
anybody else.
No, I made prints off of it
I'll
though.
tell you a story about my great aunt though. When
Okay.
she broke her hip, a couple times she did, and we put her in a nursing home up there, Woodland Hills, for a short time while she was recovering. And she always went out and she did it a couple times. She had a 3-prong walker. But back before the emergency units were all paid and everybody, back and forth, the Roman boys were bringing her back from the nursing home after one of those times. They were coming by the Dairy Queen, and of course she had them in school. She said, "Boys, stop here. I want
Yeah.
an ice cream cone."
Yeah.
Yes, Miss Baker.
Yeah.
Same
Yeah.
for talking.
Yeah.
She was old when I was there. She always wore an apron.
Oh,
had those
God.
real thick black shoes that they
Mhm.
wore in those periods at the time. But she'd mellowed out so much by then because
Oh, God.
she was in the back room. But she was my grandmother's. They were sisters. They used to play aggravation, and they'd sit there and you'd hear, "Naomi, you're cheating again." And we'd sit there and you would just chuckle,
Oh my God.
But I wouldn't trade that for anything with
That's right.
with people like you're talking about. The guys down at the river took you in, and I remember Fritz later on the ferry when
Yeah.
Joey Meyer and Tom Lambert and I, we used to go. We'd make dough balls at my house
Yeah.
because Dad was always cooked and he had herbs and spices, so we'd combine whatever and and make dough balls. We'd go down there and fish off the second ferry, the backup ferry. And that was the neatest experience, is sitting there at 5 o'clock in the
Caught
morning or
fish.
whatever, and here comes a barge down with its light going back and
Oh,
forth.
yeah.
And I mean, you just,
That was a classic.
yeah, and then you'd throw your line out, and there was always a catfish hole over here, which
No.
we never, we always caught little ones, we never got a big one. But, I used my grandpa's ocean fishing reel one time.
Oh, good.
And cast off there, but, that river, Grandpa had houses down Texas.
Oh.
I always say Texas, and people say, "What are you talking
Oh,
about?"
yeah.
I was down by the river.
Wow.
He had 3 houses, and the 37 flood took one of them out.
Right.
And the other 2 stayed there, but the 37 flood took one of them out.
Well,
So-
that was my initiation to the old Swift rowboat, and that had the V front
Mhm.
and the laid back
Right?
rear end.
Yeah.
And they had guys, I'd watch them, they'd have as many as 3 guys rowing, and those big ones, and they were all lined up down there on Decatur Street.
Mm-hmm.
You go out there and everybody'd be yelling at the Tom Green or the Chris Green because they was throwing a wake and throwing the boats out of the water and breaking their anchor lines.
Right.
There was a riot. It was fun.
Yeah, it was a river. I wouldn't trade. When I went all the way out to Moores Hill, I was in the country out in the middle of nowhere. But,
Yeah.
And I loved it out there because it was all quiet out there. But
Quiet.
there was something about the river because we had a big porch on our house. And Grandpa, my great grandpa, got everybody down. They bought in 37. So Farmers Fair, before the flood, Farmers Fair, they decided they'd pour the porch. Well, my grandpa said, great grandpa said, "Come on down, we're having a porch party."
Right.
So they all came down and did. I don't know how much the guys were down here because they were up pouring that big porch. It had 3 big sections
Oh,
on it.
God.
One of them, a Model T frame went under one of them. Grandpa always said when I bring him down when he's older, he said, "Well, see, that didn't ever crack."
Yeah, it didn't
He
have
held
a
it all
crack.
together. But the river, we could sit up there and watch the river, especially in the fall when the trees.
Oh,
Or if you heard, like I've said to people, have you heard the Delta Queen?
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah,
You knew
I'm
you
the
could go
Delta
down.
Queen. How many times I've painted
Oh.
that.
Oh yeah, you hear that calliope, and they always played when they
I
came
love
through
it.
here.
Oh, we went down to Chattanooga.
Chattanooga.
And stayed in there.
They stayed in
down in Chattanooga.
Did you?
Yeah,
Oh,
we
it
stayed
was
over the
fun.
weekend.
Oh,
It
that-
was really fun.
That would be
It was
great.
a trip.
That would be great.
It was-
Well, listen, is there anything you all can add? You think that you might want to add, or just?
Well, since not liking him in school, I like him pretty well now.
You two make a nice couple.
Yeah.
You do.
And now
It's nice
we
that-
always held hands. So much romantically in love. Now we hold hands to keep each other from falling.
Well, I can relate to that totally.
Yeah.
But it's nice that even though you had different paths, when
Yeah.
you were
It all
young and
came
you were
together.
right there,
Yeah.
it seemed like you went right along, and
Oh,
then when
we
the
did.
time came, you were
Yeah,
together.
it was great. It was great.
Well, I really appreciate you talking,
Oh,
talking
that's
to us,
great.
and I hope if we can keep this all going, we can sit
Put it
back and watch
together.
these interviews in
Okay.
another couple of years.
Laugh.
And laugh. Sure.
All
Sure.
right. Thank you much.
It's
Okay.
nice seeing you all. And,
Now, you want to help us up?
yeah. I know these chairs are terrible.
That's okay. I better go get the restroom.